Hey everybody, how you doing out there? It's a big, wide, wonderful world, and it's Spoiler Piece Theater. We're so happy to be back for another episode. It is a delightful time. My name is Dave Riedel. I'm a member of the Boston Unlike Film Critics Association. My pronouns are he, him. I write for the Chicago Reader, and who's ever next to go?
My name is Evan Crean. I'm co-chair of the Boston Online Film Critics Association and co-author of your 80s movie guide to better living. My pronouns are he, him.
And my name is Megan Kearns. My pronouns are she, her. I write film reviews for Edge Media Network. I, too, am a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association, and I'm a member of Gallica, the Society of LGBTQ Entertainment Critics.
Yeah. Big night on Spoiler Piece Theater Night. Big night. Not just because we're discussing two movies, yay. And also we have Patreon, which we'll tell you about in a moment, but because we are joined by the wonderful and amazing Kristen Halbert from Forces of Geek. Thank you so much for being here. Why don't you tell the kids at home a little bit about yourself?
Oh my gosh, thank you for having me back. I love coming on Spoiler Piece because it kills me to leave out twists and what I feel is very important information to reviews. So, what a fun release this place always is for me. And yeah, I write for Forces of Geek, and additionally, I sit on the Boston Comics and Color Committee, where we throw the Boston Comics and Color Festival, the only festival in Boston that focuses on BIPOC creators of comics, video games, and all that fun nerd stuff.
For it. Well, I know I do.
Yeah,
anyway.
we do.
Yay! My yay was more that you're here, Kristen.
Me too.
Yeah.
Aww.
I just wanted to jump on the phrase fun nerd stuff because that was a fun phrase. So let's see how many times I can use the word fun. Anyway, so all right. Well, real quick before we get into the rigmarole, the other rigmarole over on Patreon, which you should totally join because it's awesome. But we are talking about the 1992 Allison Anders movie Gas Food Lodging, starring Ione Skye and Fairuza Balk. And it is not what any of us thought it was going to be. Is that good or bad? I don't know. It only costs you $5 to find out. So please consider joining. While I'm at it, also, thank you to our sponsor piece patron, Heather Sachs. Thank you, Heather. It's great to have you sponsoring Ye Old Show. Thank you.
Ye old piece.
Ye Old Piece.
Thanks, Heather.
You own Ye Old
She's
Piece of Spoiler Piece.
revoking sponsorship because I hated hearing that.
I know. I don't
We
know
also
if
have a new patron, too.
Oh, we do, right.
Yeah.
You do have a new patron.
Yay,
Yes.
very exciting. Big week at Spoiler Piece. I also just want to mention that for some reason for the last 6 months, everything has been ye old with me. I don't know why. I have no explanation. I just thought I'd throw that out there. It's a tick. I don't know. Anyway, the two movies we're talking about tonight are Inside, starring the one, the only, the Willem Dafoe. And then we will be discussing The Blackening. I'm not going to get into the cast list because it's big. We can talk about that later. But first, let's talk about Inside. This is the movie where Willem Dafoe is an art thief and artiste, and he gets stuck inside a home because he's a dumbass. I don't still quite understand how that happens, but
I mean, I don't think he was a dumbass. I think just a combination of his guy leaving him there, his contact on the outside, and then just there being more security system there than anyone was anticipating.
You think they would have done better? I mean, they got a fucking helicopter. You think they would have done more? You got the money, is what I'm saying. Anyway, let me give you the IMDb summary here. Nemo, his name's Nemo. I never knew that.
Yeah.
That's so fucking dumb. Nemo, a high-end art thief, is trapped in a New York penthouse after his heist doesn't go as planned. What a clunky sentence.
Yes.
Locked inside with nothing but priceless works of art. They're not priceless. He says they can get $3 million for them. Locked inside with nothing but priceless works of art, he must use all his cunning and ingenuity to survive. And, not coincidentally, make art.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the plot. I mean, he's, stealing these paintings. One of them is not supposed to be where it is, which I guess throws all of them, him in the ground, and then the guy he's radioing to kind of into what the fuck? And then when they're going to punch in the security code to get out of the home, because of course it's got huge maximum security. By the way, this is one of the most tasteless homes you would ever want to live in. Imagine if everything was poured concrete. The walls, the ceilings, the floors, the everything, the oh my God, fucking gross. I like a little bit of poured concrete, but a little bit goes a long way. That's all I'm saying. So that's it.
Very
yeah.
intentional.
Lots
No,
of hard lines in this place.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's set up to look soulless, but it's also set up to look like an art gallery owned by someone who's soulless.
Yes.
So
Mhm.
I think that's part of the not very far past the surface level thing. And then we watch Willem Dafoe try to find water for 30 minutes, which is gross. And then, because I don't need to see him lick the inside of the freezer. That's all I'm saying. I don't need to
Yeah.
see that.
But when he opens the fridge for too long, the Macarena plays, and after enough time, he
Yes.
starts dancing to the Macarena because he gets into it.
Yeah.
Chris
He's
is
losing his
looking like, what
mind.
the fuck is going on here?
I think for every one clever thing that happens in this movie, there are 7 things that are so on the nose, you just want to punch someone in the eye. You know, it's like,
Yeah, it is.
by the time we got to the part where he has filled the bathtub with shit, and then there's a giant close-up on it, I was like, you know, I think I've just had enough of movies where somebody is stuck in what is to them an apocalyptic situation. And then we're just focusing on what happens when you got to take shit. And there's nothing that you can do with it's just like that movie Blindness, where the whole world has gone blind, the Julianne Moore movie and everything else. And then there's like 30 minutes where they're just basically talking about where they got to take a shit. And it's like, listen, I know it's the end of the world and everyone's gone blind except for Julianne Moore. And you've got to think about, you know, basic human, like calls of nature. It's, but I don't want to fucking hear about where you're going to be taking a shit. Fuck me.
Yeah. I'm
And that
with
is
you.
how I felt about this, because believe me, once he finds out that there's no running water in the penthouse that he has broken into, the first thing I thought is like, well, where are we going with this? I think I know. And then we went there. And not only did we go there, we went there in close up. And let me say, ironically, what a delight. So I kind of hated this. I think,
I mean, you're not the only one.
if you had a performer who's not as skilled as Willem Dafoe, this would have gone from being torturous to being, I think I'm just going to jump off a building. I mean, it's just, it's
Yeah.
so,
I think I'd rather be that dead pigeon that's eaten by maggots during the movie.
yeah. And this movie is just so unappealing in just about every way. It's staggering that anybody would want to make this, especially when you're not really saying anything interesting or unique, or you're just basically watching someone go insane and fall apart.
I think the filmmakers think they're saying something interesting and
Yes.
profound.
What is that thing that it takes, 14 chair legs to fashion enough wrenches to unscrew a light from a ceiling? I mean,
to open up a skylight. I wrote in my Letterboxd review, I guess one man's art is another man's descent into madness.
basically, right?
Yeah.
That sounds too nice for what I'm hearing right now. Like, that kind of review might encourage
I would-
somebody.
Oh,
Yeah.
there was more.
And-
That was just one part of
Yeah.
the review. The other part was to say this movie's pacing is glacial is an insult to the pace glaciers move.
I didn't think it was that bad, but I mean, I just
Oh, it's
no. I mean, I think that I'm not talking about
Pacing
the
is
pacing. I'm talking
atrocious.
like not the movie. The movie is bad. It's a bad movie.
Oh, I don't mean that. I mean the pacing
Yeah.
is a
Well, it's just-
It's
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 just
the bathtub.
torturous.
It's just dead. There's. I mean, how many times have you seen? There's a fucking Stephen King short story from the mid '70s, and I'm sure there's others long before that about a guy who's trapped on an island, and he eventually has to start eating himself. You know.
Well, wait a minute. I mean, you're right, and that's
Yeah.
it's a common theme in films. We have All Is Lost with Robert Redford. We have Castaway with Tom
Those are
Hanks.
both better movies.
We have Gravity with Sandra Bullock. I love all of those. I mean, and this also definitely reminded me of Fincher's Panic
Yeah.
Room, which is another fantastic film. So there, this is not a novel idea. It's an interesting premise, but not a novel idea at all. But this pace is atrocious.
I think
It's
the thing that also
horrendous.
took, I think you could have made, I don't know what the profound statement would have been, but I think you could have made a profound statement about art. But instead, we get Willem Dafoe Now, I don't know why, by the way, that this home, it has no running water, which, okay, you're going to shut your water off, I guess, if you go away for 6 months, except to water your
I thought the
art
security
plants.
system shut everything down. My opinion was that
It
once
did.
lockdown,
Yeah, it was the
once
broken
lockdown
security
happened, it
system.
literally locked down the whole house, so it turned off all the water and
Then why
did all
didn't it
these
lock
things.
down the
Right.
plant watering? Because you think that would be...
Well, the person still needs their plants.
Well, it's not that it locked everything down. It's not that it locked. I don't think it locked everything down. It was malfunctioning.
Oh,
That's why
right,
the
right.
heat jacked up to 103,
Then it
and that's why
dipped.
then the temperature plummeted
It's
to
'cause he
48 degrees, and then it went back
he
up again.
jackknifed the thing off the
Yes.
wall. Right.
Exactly.
Although
he was
that's not
tinkering
how
with it
those
too
things
much,
work.
and so I think
that's another
why.
thing.
No. No, you're absolutely right. But that is, I think, the logic, quote unquote, that's happening in the film as to why all these things are happening or not
but I think
happening, as it
the
were.
moment where it lost me once and for all, and you're going to think like this is the moment, is when he's watching all of the security camera footage on the big TV, and I'm just thinking to myself, why does this weird art lover person whose home he's in, why is this available to him? What interest would he have in that? And then am I going to have to watch Willem Dafoe insert character traits into all of these people? Oh, look, he's done it. Yes.
Yeah. He's naming the maid that's like vacuuming. He's like, Jasmine, open the door, Jasmine.
For those of you listening at home, I'm rubbing my forehead with the, heels of my palms. I just can't believe that this is a movie that anybody A, wrote, B, said yes to. I know Willem Dafoe in his early career was an experiment, ran an experimental theater group. This ain't experimental. This is shit, just like the bathtub. So,
Yikes.
it's just bad.
I will say, I think the one excellent thing in the film is the production design. I think it's
good.
exceptional considering all of the art that was
Mhm.
curated. Those are either all commissioned pieces or they're replicas of actual art. Like all of it is actual art from artists. And they were very intentional about it. They wanted it to all be pieces that are not shown in any galleries. So it actually could be owned by someone in a personal collection. The attention to detail in that, reading behind the scenes, was incredible. And I was like, wow, this is impeccable. This is great. I wish it had accompanied a much more fascinating and riveting film. Exactly. And Willem Dafoe is an excellent, excellent actor. I don't think any of us are going to dispute that. But you can only do so much with what you have.
And when it's all Willem Dafoe and like no one else, and there's lots of gross close-ups of Willem Dafoe's face doing things like chugging water and eating gross. It's just...
Don't forget licking the freezer.
Licking the freezer, yeah, you get the inside of the freezer's perspective when he's cramming his body in his face, licking the walls of the freezer for moisture.
Oh my God.
There's a lot of really gross close-ups, but I agree with you, Megan. The production design, the use of the space is really interesting, and I think it's a good performance from Willem Dafoe. But like you said, there's nothing really for him to latch onto other than his performance. And when I also wrote my review, if I have to hear him say, I'm going to heaven on a hill one more time, I'm going to lose it. Hearing him sing the same thing repeatedly, I know, a symptom of madness. I get it. But 15 times hearing him say the same phrase over and over again, it's really too much.
He's got to ascend to heaven. He's got to climb that scaffolding to get to the skylight and get
metaphor
out.
Was? Oh, wait a minute. Mind blown. It is profound. He did go to heaven on a hill.
Yeah.
So he did.
It's all
he
coming
ascended.
together.
He did get out. He did make it out.
He did get out. Well, we don't know if he lived. I mean, if you saw his body,
he fucked up his leg pretty badly. Kristen, in the movie, he makes this giant... He takes all the furniture in this place and makes this giant tower so he can get up to the top of the skylight and undo these bolts. And he falls at one point. He gets like startled by something and falls, and you see him just like fall all the way down the tower and just fucks up his leg so badly, like compound fracture bad.
Yeah. And then...
very hard when you sing Christian songs and then build towers, because we have a whole story about not doing that. It didn't end well.
Nope. Well, it sort of ended well for him. He got out, we think. We don't know. Maybe he hallucinated the whole thing. He was hallucinating other things, so who the hell knows?
Yeah, but I mean, that would be a weird hallucination to hallucinate yourself out
I
of a
know.
building, even in a movie this fucked up.
I mean, it's
I
happened in
know.
movies
It
before.
happens. It's the last
Happened-
temptation of
yeah.
Christ. He goes through his whole life,
That's
you
true.
know, and then
Yes,
he's, whoa,
exactly.
there was hallucination. I'm actually on
Right.
the cross.
Right.
Spoiler.
And there's so much religiosity in this film. So I think there you go. I'm not convinced he actually got out, because I'm also looking at that scaffolding, and I'm looking at the jump, like the distance between the scaffolding and that skylight. And I'm like, I don't think he could have done that with his body,
Because he has
don't think
no
he was
strength
strong enough.
left and
anyway.
a fucked up leg.
Exactly. Because he's
Which is, like,
malnourished and a fucked up
gangrenous.
leg. Yeah. Speaking of disgusting things and things that really disturbed me, which I don't know why I'm laughing, probably because it's just so horrible. What really disturbed me, besides all of the weird body gross things, were the starving pigeon that was dying on the terrace, who also gets trapped with him, or outside of the window that he's watching, and the dead fish on the floor. Just a shot of the fish dying. And I'm like, listen, I understand that he's probably going to eat the fish in the aquarium. I don't need to see the fish dying on the floor. It's fucking disgusting, and it's cruel.
It is
and I hated it.
disgusting.
On top of everything
I'm
else.
assuming
in the
with the budget that they probably had, it was a fake fish dying on the floor, but who knows? But at the same time, I can't give this movie any points because of all the shit. I just can't. I'm tired of the shit. I'm tired of that's the only place you can go. They all go there. Like just fuck me.
Why wouldn't he go in the garden with the dirt? Could have used it as like fertilizer. Anyway, I
He needs to lay in that dirt so he can get the water out of the sprinkler.
Yeah.
That's true.
That's true.
He goes crazy.
I mean, who the fuck knows what he's doing?
Surprised he didn't use it for his artwork.
Who knows what he's doing?
Kind of surprised too.
Right? I actually am too. Thankfully.
You really saved yourself by not seeing this movie, Kristen.
I know. I feel like so happy to have prioritized other things. I'm so sorry. But
I mean, you might like it though. A lot of people do.
Yeah, but a lot of people don't. So
that's also true too. It's a
more
divisive
people
film.
don't.
We're three
I'm
who don't. One thing now, I agree with you both that the production design is impeccable. I don't particularly like it, but I get it.
Oh well, no, you're not
it
supposed
does
to.
look like
I'm
a
not
rich
saying-
asshole's apartment.
No, I'm not saying like
Right.
it like, oh, it looks. I'm just like I don't.
Are you
Yes,
saying it's
that's
too
what I'm
on the
saying.
nose again?
The
Like
one
everything
thing
else?
that I
Got
did
it.
like though is
see.
when he
Yeah.
finds the secret room where the
I thought something good was going to
No,
happen then.
I thought that was too good to be true. But I liked like the green light from the neon shining down,
Yes.
and I liked the way that the self-portrait was, just of course this asshole he wouldn't even have this in a place where somebody visiting his home could look at it. It's got to be in a secret place that only he can get to. And then that weird fucking like
Yep.
Night of the Realm Dead, whatever that was. When Willem Dafoe freaked out at that, I thought it was like, oh my God, are we going to find out that the daughter in the portrait over there is like, like hung up here and this is just like skull and bones? Nah, it's just a piece of art that looks like a dead dude. So that was kind of a bummer. Not that I wanted the guy's daughter to be dead, but
Yeah,
I was
it was a
hoping for
letdown.
something profound.
No.
Anyway, do we have anything else to say about this? One of you must.
No.
And if you don't, that's fine too.
No.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
So, because you keep talking about the profound nature, like mocking it. Yeah, and again, reading an interview with the filmmaker, like I really believe that he and the other filmmakers on this thought that they were saying something really meaningful about art, and because he talks about it and the premise of this film and how he had been thinking about this premise for over 10 years, and what happens to art when you remove it from social context and when you're alone with it, and then the whole notion of needing to make art in order to survive. And I'm like, yeah, those are all really great points. Those are all really important themes. But this film just fails at
Did
tackling
we just see
any
a
of
Kelly
that.
Reichardt movie about this?
We did, showing up, and it was
that
wonderful.
was better and smaller budgeted.
Yes, because Kelly Reichardt is an amazing filmmaker.
Yeah. One did have more than one character too, so there was that.
Yeah, that helps.
But if you're a great filmmaker, if you're a great actor, great filmmaker, great writer, you can make it work. Because there are plenty of films that are just a one-person show that do it. But this is not that film.
Nah, it ain't. Well, on that note, final thoughts. It sounds like, Megan, that was your final thought. Evan, do you have a final thought?
Nope.
Okay, I don't either because fuck
Yeah.
thinking about this movie.
Yeah, I'd much rather hear about the Blackening. And
Yeah, let's hear about the Blackening.
Hear our guests talk about the movie.
Hear our guests talk about the Blackening. We will all talk about it too. If you haven't heard of the Blackening, it's a horror comedy. Here's the 1, 2, 3 sentences on IMDb. 7 black friends go away for the weekend, ended up trapped in a cabin with a killer who has a vendetta. Will their street smarts and knowledge of horror movies help them stay alive? Probably not. That's interesting. This is directed by Tim Story. It's written by Tracy Oliver and Dwayne Perkins, starring Antoinette Robertson, Dwayne Perkins, and a lot of other people. And what do we think? Let's have our guest go first. That's why you're here, to talk about the Blackening. You didn't go to the trouble of seeing Inside. I certainly don't blame you.
Thank your lucky stars for that.
I don't even know if we told you that was a movie we were doing, frankly. And
No, Evan did. And then I was like, I have so many things to do. And then I looked at the description of it and I was like, and this is not going to make it on the list.
Well, you made the correct choice. Wow.
Yeah, I did borrow a Peacock Plus subscription, but I think it's just going to be used to rewatch the John Wick movies now that I'm hearing everything from the three of you.
Well, then let's move on to a happier question mark subject. The Blackening. What'd you think?
Oh my gosh. I can't tell you how much I really enjoyed this movie, and I was pretty fucking pissed off for the first 20 minutes of the movie because I was like, wow, I realize that this is a spoof and a satire, so you have to be like really over the top about like setting up your premise and everything. But at the same time, I was like, first of all, y'all dropping N-bombs every 5 seconds. This is ridiculous. These people are so thinly put together with like who they are. But then, I calmed down a bit like 20 something minutes into it because also the story picks up. And I was like, okay, Kristen, you're taking this way too seriously. Just imagine that you're high, because you're not, because you're working right now. But just imagine that you're high and went to go see this on a Friday. Because the person I brought was definitely high.
You're like, I'm jealous of you.
Just watching this. Yup, and they had a great time the whole time through. Trust me. Because it was just super, super, super hilarious, and I love the concept of not just being horror tropes, but specifically like racial horror tropes, as well as just like so many just like Black community little like in jokes and Easter eggs and things like that. I was looking around because I saw it at South Bay, and I gotta say it was probably roughly like 98.7% Black showing. And when I left it, one of my big questions was I went to the marketing company and I was like, I think I'd like to see this in another market, in maybe a not diverse market, because I feel like maybe some of the jokes, if you aren't a person that has had family reunions or gone to play or played spades, definitely if you haven't played spades.
I just want to throw this out there. I have played every card game. So I know spades, I know hearts, I know hell, I know euchre, I know them all. So
I was saying, like, if you didn't do some of these things or have some of these experience or weren't socialized into some of these like very Black jokes that were there, I can imagine that you'd be like, I think this is funny, but I also am not sure how funny it is supposed to be. But as a Black person watching this is fucking hilarious. I love this movie. Like, I already have like a list of like 7 people that I need to take to see this movie. Just so it's going to be like Get Out again, except funny, where I'm just like watching the person watch the fucking movie. And I love when that happens. I felt super wrapped around in a Black horror experience hug in 1,000 ways, especially because usually you would just like throw a white person in there. And, there was one, but also it wasn't like a really main part. And I was thinking like, oh, how are they going to do this with like all of these like Black, basically like sketch actors, a lot of them, and not having like a big like name, like a white actor or actress or something that like ties it all together for the mainstream audience. And I'm actually pretty thrilled that they just didn't even bother with that. And that line about him being invited, if I was invited to the cookout, I would appreciate the invite, but I would stay home because I would understand that it was an affinity space. I was
Great
like,
line.
oh, it was such a great line. There were just like some really, really great like one-liners and physical comedy in this that I was so surprised at how much more I liked it. Because Megan knows that I fucking hate scary movies. Like I hate them so much. She like you will never see me at a scary movie screening. And I literally just took this because I was like, okay, well maybe it'll be okay. Because I haven't even seen Shaun of the Dead because it had too much graphic zombie-ishness for me. But
Damn.
like this, oh man, I might like host a screening of this for my birthday. Honestly, like
Oh, nice.
I loved it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I loved it.
that's cool. Well,
But tell me another perspective that I've been dying to hear.
all right. Well, I'm not gonna lie. I think some of the jokes probably went over my head, but I also think a lot of them landed. But I think, and I liked this because I think the cast, by and large, is really charismatic, and they're really Antoinette Robinson. I thought was great. I can't remember a lot of the actors' names, but that's a recurring theme all throughout Spoiler Piece, by the way. I thought by and large the performances were really good. The problem I had with it is that it was, and I don't know if it's supposed to be predictable or not, but it was really, really predictable to me, which was, and just strictly from a story standpoint, which is funny because the director's name is Tim Story, but who also directed the last Tom and Jerry movie, which is just weird. I mean, that's just strange that movie was even made with live action people and Tom and Jerry animated.
Well, he also
Anyway.
directed Barbershop and like
I
9 other movies.
I know. I'm just saying it's an unusual like turn into Robert Zemeckis land.
That
and
is
then,
a weird turn.
I mean, I thought it moved really well, which is good. I was kind of surprised that Jay Farrow got killed off in the first 5 minutes, and horrifically.
But it's very Scream-esque. It makes perfect
is.
sense. Yeah,
It
the
makes
Jay
perfect
Farrow and
sense.
Yvonne Orji would be in the beginning. Yeah.
Well, because he even says that, well, what about, Jada Pinkett, they survived. And she's like, no, they were the first 2 people who died in Scream 2, which is true.
Yep.
And I thought that I just knew it was the guy that they kicked out. So the whole time, and when he gets shot on screen with the bolt, I was just like, well, that's fake. I didn't necessarily know that he had hired the 2 fucking weirdos who worked at the convenience store to do all the, killing for him, or perhaps killing, because the only 2 people who die are the couple who had rented the house for the weekend. But thought it moved well. I thought a lot of it was really funny. I really liked, like I said, Antoinette Robertson. I almost said Robinson. I like Grace Byers. I like Melvin Gregg a lot. So, good performances. And I've seen most of these actors before. But like I said, I just kind of saw it all coming. What I did think, what really made me laugh a lot, though, one thing did really make me laugh, which was when it was suggested that they all split up. And
that was great.
And Allison had to prevent herself from throwing up before she suggested it. That really made me laugh. But then they split up and everybody lived. So, and I also was not surprised that Diedrich Bader was not involved and did get killed, So it's just it's just things like that. I don't know. it's like most horror movies. I know what's going to happen in them because I've seen so many of them. And so knowing this is kind of a send up of that, and just the way that the I can't even remember the character's name, the guy who they kick out for, voting for Donald Trump.
Jermaine? Not Jermaine.
Yeah.
Clifton.
Jermaine is the
Clifton.
actor's name, yes.
Yeah.
I just was like, well, now I know where this is going. I didn't know that they were all going to survive because I didn't know that would be, because I thought it was going to turn into like maybe a conventional horror movie. I wasn't sure. But I did know that he was going to be the mastermind, especially when they find them, everybody slumped over chairs in the basement, after they think they've figured out who's killed everyone. So that's what I thought. Megan, what did you think?
So I think it's interesting, Kristen, when you were talking about, I wonder what another audience thinks, because yes, Dave and I are both white, but Dave and I were both at the same screening, and our screening was also 98% Black people. So
Yeah.
our audience loved it. And so, so there's that. I too liked this. I am not a horror comedy fan. I am a huge horror fan, but I tend not to like horror comedies. I know a lot of people, Evan,
Yeah.
I know you love the mashing of those two genres. I usually don't, because I don't find that it often is very funny. I often find that the comedy falls very flat and it's at the expense of good horror for me. So I was kind of suspicious going in. I was like, I don't know. But I was hopeful. And I have to say, I think this is an incredibly funny movie. And, there probably are jokes that went over my head too, because, I am white. But I have to say, the two funniest jokes. There is a joke that Clifton makes when they're doing the game and they're asking like questions about like Living Single and other like Black shows. And he says, and it's such a throwaway line, but I couldn't stop laughing. He's like, I'm more of a Becker man myself. And I'm like, that is a fucking deep cut to talk about the Ted Danson show Becker. Like, it's just absurd.
Yeah.
And I loved it. And then the other funny part, there's a lot of funny parts, but the other part that really stuck out with me was when Dwayne Perkins is talking about one of the women has a candlestick, and he's like, "This isn't fucking Clue," and like he's like, "What are you gonna Colonel Mustard in the ballroom?" or whatever he says. It's really funny, and what I also love is that Dwayne Perkins is also writing the upcoming Clue movie, which I think is kind of funny. But like that was just such a great line, and I think. I agree with you about both of you about the performances. Like, I think Dwayne Perkins was fantastic.
He's great.
So good.
Oh,
so much
amazing.
charisma.
I also
loved
loved it when
him.
he threw up all over the second killer.
I didn't, but only because
That
I don't
just
like
sounds funny.
I don't like gross comedy like that. But
well,
yes,
I don't
it
either,
is funny.
but it kind of worked perfectly
It did,
for
yes.
his character.
100%. Yes. I also really liked Grace Byers a lot. I thought she was excellent. And I also loved Cinca Walls, who's fantastic in the movie Nanny. So I was so delighted to see him again because he's so good in Nanny. And Yvonne Orji, I love her in Insecure. So I was sad that I didn't get to see more of her. But of course, as soon as I saw her, I was like, oh, we're doing Scream. Very cool. But yeah, so this worked a lot more for me than I thought, just because I'm not a horror comedy fan. It is very much a lot of times stoner comedy, which is not my vibe. But again, the fact that it worked so well for me, and that's not my usual milieu, I was like, this is really cool that it's working. And yeah, so I think this is a lot of fun. Like you, Dave, I found it wildly predictable. I saw everything coming. I knew it was going to be Clifton, because the fact that they're all kind of ignoring him, I'm like, oh, he's got a grudge against them because they ignored him. And yep, that's exactly what happened. So I very much saw what was going to happen. But this is kind of such a fun vibe that I was like, I don't really care. Like, I mean, I care, but like not as much as I might in another film. So so I liked this.
Yeah, I should say, I want to just throw this in there. I didn't dislike it, but I and this is a recurring theme on when I can guess what's coming next, it really just takes me out of whatever I'm watching. Until Dwayne Perkins threw up, and then I was right back in. But also, like Megan, I don't really like horror comedies either. Like, I didn't see Shaun of the Dead for years, partly because it's Edgar Wright, and but also because it's a horror comedy.
Defender here.
Yeah, I know. And then I
don't
saw it and I was
dislike
like,
him.
yeah, I was right to have avoided it all these years. There's nothing remotely clever or congratulations. The name of your shop is Forey Electronics. Well done. But, yeah. So I don't know if I'm not, that's kind of more of an Edgar Wright thing than a horror comedy thing, but I just felt the need to shit on Edgar Wright for a moment. So, anyway. Well, because I like Simon Pegg, so why does he have to work with Edgar Wright so much? I know they're pals. They did a TV show in England. Blah 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 blah. Anyway, so yeah, I wouldn't say don't see this. I mean, I think it is a good time, but I mean, but if you go in, I think expecting, hey, I'm going to have a good time, not this is a horror movie. I think maybe that's more of the idea, because I don't know. By the way, I will say that the opening is kind of creepy though. When the lights go out and then you just see the bolt fly across the room, and I was I was like, oh, Jay Farrow, I love Jay Farrow, and then of course he's doing Eddie Murphy, and then he's dead. And I was like, well, there you go.
I really like. Well, okay. I want to go back to like the predictability thing, just because I think, especially in this style, like when you have a satire like this, like part of the fun is that it's so predictable, and like what's coming, or like what the next plot point is, but you also don't know like how they're going to make it funny. Like the thing is coming, but like their take on it is what I'm looking for more than that specific plot point.
Sure.
Like when they got to the water and they were going to swim across, like in my brain, I'm like, obviously they're going to try to swim across to like live. But the other part of my brain's like, okay, so there could be a joke about not getting her weave wet. There could be a joke about Black people swimming. I was like, which one's it gonna be? And like that was really fun to me to see like how if they were going to go for like a straight horror trope or a race trope or some kind of combination of the two. So it's like, spin this wheel and see which one of the three is going to come up. Which I did like really think was funny, even from the beginning where the door was open and like you saw that shadowy figure run across, and then he just looks at it and then he just closes the door.
Yes, that was so good.
That was good.
And I was like, that's exactly what you're supposed to do. Just be like, not my problem. Good luck. And just move on to a well-lit area of that house. Please.
Yeah. No, I definitely think this film plays with the tropes very well, because I know you were, Kristen, you were concerned in the beginning of the film that it was going to dig in too much to the tropes and just be really bad. But it does play with the tropes of horror movies and of Black people in horror movies and just, Black people in media in general. I think it does that very well. I agree.
The arguing about who was Black enough to get sacrificed was also one of my favorite parts, about how they were distinguishing their Blackness, whether it was like that speech that the person gave, or she's like, no, I can't be sacrificed because literally one of my parents is white, and I'm going to call this privilege card like right now. It was just really great. And so I just think it's there's just like a lot of ways to access this, but it's also incredibly representative in a way that I usually don't get to see Black people in horror films at all. And yes, Scary Movie have like a much higher diversity of casting than like a traditional horror movie does. But also it's because, I don't know, people call it, we're really fucking funny. So I expect you to try to cast us in satires and like funny versions of this. But to have a whole movie of our own is like super special. Also, I'm hoping that this is also like Scary Movie, where I'm going to get like another one of these. And that's like why you didn't see if he was like actually dead at the bottom. And they seeded that pretty well. They did. Yeah, so exciting. Also, literally funny all the way up into the end, the argument about because you can't call the police because, like,
that was,
you can't call the police.
So they called the fire department.
Because they don't have guns.
That was smart.
That
was smart.
Okay, that's funny.
That was funny. So
I had that exact argument with somebody before. Who are you gonna call?
Not the
Not the
police.
police.
No,
Yeah.
Nope.
except when you call the TSA, like at the end of Get Out.
That's right. Forgot about that.
That was actually a good one.
I
Yeah.
did like the swimming scene. I kind of forgot about it though, because what I liked about that more than anything was that Shanika was just pissed off the whole time. She's like, well, I'll be the one who goes and swims, and she starts swimming across, and then the killer is on this. She's like, oh, now I got to go back, and and she was a good swimmer too. So I just thought that whole thing was funny. Yeah, there you go. That's all I have to say about that scene. But
It was a good scene. I also like the ADHD superpowers, the Adderall superpowers.
yeah, that was, you know what? That was, as knowing a lot of, having a little ADHD myself and knowing a lot of people who do, that made a whole lot of sense to me.
I don't know. There's just so many great things to revisit and go back to in it, and I can see people like reenacting or quoting this like all fucking summer. I'm here for it.
Yeah, I think the rewatch.
Like I think I want to take my mom. I'm not sure yet. I know I want to take my sister. I know I want to take my brother. Might want to take my mom. I think I have to watch it one more time to see if it's Black parent appropriate.
See if it's mom approved. Yeah.
Right. But it's hella Black sibling appropriate. I don't know what mom over here. Yeah.
Well, maybe you'll take your siblings, and then you'll get their opinion. You guys can like vote on it.
Yeah,
Be like,
you
all
can
right,
all talk
should
about
we
it
show this to
together.
Mom, yeah, okay.
I definitely should have seen No Country for Old Men a second time before I took my parents to it. That's for sure. This is a little different, because this is a comedy, but same idea. Yeah. Kristen, is there anything you feel like we maybe missed because we're a different audience? That's a strange question.
That's so carefully worded.
Hey, I'm nothing if not
Very
a careful
nice.
worder.
I think that there are just a couple of like really funny things, just like relationally between people, especially. I think a lot of the stuff about being queer and Black specifically that Dwayne like brought into this space, I thought was really fantastic. And I love how they gave him like such a win, because I did think that perhaps this was going to be something where like he was like the butt of things like the whole time. And I was really glad when like it was him like completely kicking fucking ass in the end. Like that was fantastic. And again, like some of the things like you're just not gonna, like if you went into this movie and you had never played spades, would you understand that? Like, would you understand that literally reneging is something like worth destroying a whole life over almost?
Yes,
like,
because there are other card games where it's like the end of the world. So, and I know how it is. Ugh. I have a problem with reneging in any card game, but I know how bad it is in spades for sure. Yeah.
Like, I would like to say, like, right now, full transparency, I am like shit at spades. Like when I go back down to St. Louis for my family reunions, like I am a handicap. Like if you want to like stop a really good player from getting too many books, like you're gonna end up pairing them with me at the barbecue. But I've never reneged in my life, and you know what? Like if I had, I would have deserved the exact treatment that person got, if not worse, because it is like. It's like this really serious foul in the Black community. And if you find out that you're playing with someone and that person like reneged, and then that person literally like wasn't even invited to the party later, even a party where there wasn't cards, you would still just like not invite them because it's like a sign of the character of the person, literally. And I think that some things like that are going to be harder for people to like understand. They're just going to be like, oh, it's a card game. And it's really not just a card game. It's much more serious than that, which is why it made it such a fantastic driving force, because honestly, just because if I was thinking of like anything, it's right up there. Like it's up there with raisins in the potato salad. Like it really
Oh
is
no.
that high up in the fail.
I was like, who's putting raisins in the potato
Yeah, I was
salad?
gonna say I'm not familiar with this one.
Yeah.
See, this is what I mean, guys.
I know that you don't put raisins in potato salad.
Yeah,
Come
I
on.
do too.
I mean, I don't eat potato salad. That's probably
I don't either.
starting point. Strike against me.
I eat vegan potato salad.
It's a really classic joke that really basically just means like this person does not have enough swag or flow to like actually come and walk in these like very black spaces. And it like came out I think like a white person had brought like potato salad to like a potluck or something and it had raisins in it. And then it just kept going on and on into like the same people who put too many like crumbs and stuff on top of macaroni and cheese and like stuff like that, where it's like, this is like a signal about how this person does not belong here. And like, even me making the raisins on potato salad joke, I can guarantee if I went like to out, let me just name drop. If I made that joke to Jaki, he would be like, yes. Which I also want to note that me and a couple of other Black reviewers, sometimes we were the only people at some of these movies. Like because I think that sometimes people are just like, I don't know if this movie is for me or if I have a good access point for this movie or to review it or anything. And I do want to encourage everyone to just see all of the movies, even if it's like not your background or like your whole vibe, but there is like a cultural or ethnic component to it because it's still important to be seen, and especially to see it in a theater with other people and to see how we react to being seen in that way. Because, right, like you said, like even if there were some things over your head, you heard and you saw how your whole theater was reacting to this.
For sure.
Totally.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. No,
everyone was very happy to be there. So,
Kristen, I think you really like hit. I think I love everything you said. I think you really nailed it because, I mean, isn't that the whole point of movies anyway? I mean, yes, it's partly, of course, to see ourselves represented, but I think it's also to see and experience other stories and other lives that are not our own. So, yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with you. Like, I feel we absolutely need more Black film critics and we absolutely need more Black film podcasters and other people of color. But absolutely, we should definitely be going, we white people, I mean, like me, we should be going to see more films, that are not just white protagonists and white characters. We need to see diverse films. It's important.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. And all of you.
Aww.
I do.
Aw.
I truly do.
Well, we appreciate you being on this episode because,
I know
because
you
we
should.
do.
You should say more because
Well.
I should not get the last word because you're our guest.
Oh, I do want to say.
Thanks, ally.
Oh, shucks.
Oh, wow.
You heard it here.
By the way, I have one more joke that landed for me, how they all pretended that they didn't watch Friends, but they had watched Friends.
Yes, that was good.
Because
But they did because they didn't watch Friends. They just knew Black people who had been on. There are tons of white shows that I have not watched, but I know every single Black person that's been on it. Because it like came up in like Black Enterprise or The Root or something that this person was going to be on this show.
Okay.
Because we all know the show is popular. We ain't gonna watch the show, but we all know that the show is popular and it means something that they were on the show. Yeah.
Also interesting that.
Especially as a love interest.
Interesting that the two Black love interests on the show were both being competed for by Ross and Joey. I hadn't thought about that before, but yeah.
Well, Joey's the best and Ross is trash, but but he's hilarious.
Thank you.
I mean, the whole point is that Ross is, terrible at relationships, right? So,
and just a terrible person, but yes.
He is kind of a terrible person. That's true.
But he is hilarious.
All of the things. Yes. I will note that there was I did see one white reviewer that I knew there. It was Andrew.
Oh.
It was Andrew who was there. And he seemed to enjoy it, but was also like minorly like perplexed by a couple of things. But it was like he also wanted to see it in a different market. And
Air quotes around that, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe I'll go out and see it in like denim or
Yeah, come down to the south. Come down to the South Shore and let's see how it's received.
Yeah. Yeah, come up where I am, you know?
Right.
I mean, we'll go to the Jordan's IMAX theater in Reading and we'll check it out there. There you go.
You know, I think that will give me the experience and the feedback that I'm looking for. You're right. Oh man. But yeah, no, this is, I don't know, just like a good Friday night when you've already like had some drinks or something. Great time. Great time spent.
I'm gonna pretend I'm high before I see it. I'm gonna take your advice. Pretend I'm already stoned watching it. That should.
Oh man, that would be great. I wish I could get high.
Like, right? Like this really because here the quote that I gave for Allied. I think I was running out the door, so I think I like shouted over my shoulder like "Black broken lizard" and like just like walked out.
You're giving Broken Lizard too much credit, by the way. I mean, come on.
They were so nice in the press junket. I feel like I really. This is probably why you're not supposed to interview them and like review their movies because now I'm tainted now because they were really sweet.
Well, I know they make such bad movies. They better be nice guys. I mean, come on.
Shots fired.
Shots fired. I know. I'm the only critic I know who doesn't like Super Troopers, so I don't know.
I don't like Super Troopers.
Okay, you're the second critic I don't know who doesn't like Super Troopers. There you go.
I don't hate it, but I also am not one of the people who would like quote it and laugh about it a lot. It has its moments.
Yeah, if it's on TNT, I might watch it till the commercial, but like then I'm changing my channel.
Brian Cox wearing an all denim outfit is pretty hilarious.
Is it?
Hearing you say that's funny.
Yeah, right? That's the funny part. I don't know about him wearing a denim outfit.
Roy wearing all denim. Come on now.
Yeah, the original Hannibal Lecter wearing all denim. Okay, I'll give you that. All right. Well, do we have anything a note we want to end on before we end this episode of Spoiler Piece Theater?
I'll just say I've thoroughly spoiler pieced into wanting to see this movie. I mean, I wanted to see it before, but you've all thoroughly spoiler pieced me into this movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mission accomplished.
That's the whole idea, right?
Sure is.
Spoiler piece you into seeing things or not seeing things in
Or
the case
not.
of Inside. I mean, in case you couldn't tell, skip that motherfucker and it's free.
Oh,
So,
yeah. Yeah, avoid that like the plague on Peacock.
You literally turned me off from even reading like a Wikipedia synopsis, like to be honest.
You have saved.
Save your time. Save your 5 minutes or 3 minutes, whatever it is.
Yeah. So you've gotten back 105 minutes because that's how long the movie is, and then 3 minutes from the Wikipedia page. We've saved you some time. So we've saved lots of people time.
You just banked it for me to come on future spoiler piece episodes, and I'll be like, okay, 20 more minutes gone.
Right?
Yeah.
We're really doing charity here. We're saving lives.
That's right.
Yeah.
This is a service we provide, God damn it.
We sacrifice ourselves. We put our bodies and
right.
minds on the line for you, listeners.
That's right.
Is this your Patreon summer campaign? Because wow.
Ooh.
I should have remembered that.
That's a good
How many
idea.
years did I work in marketing and Jesus Christ. What a jackass. Right. All right. Well, on that note, all the shows always end on how dumb Dave is. So, so let's end it there. It's not true, but it's kind of funny. So that's this episode of Spoiler Piece Theater. There's an outro list that we do. First of all, I want to say thank you, Kristen, for joining us. It was a delight to have you on. It's always a delight to have you on, and we wish we had you on more often. But you don't say you want to be on very often. I'm just putting words in your mouth. I'm sorry.
Oh my god!
Yeah, I was going to say, it's more like we don't have our act together with having guests on.
That's really
Kristen,
more what it is.
Kristen thankfully told us long enough in advance that there was like, okay, we're going to be idiots if we don't figure this out. Because Kristen,
Yeah.
I think you messaged me like 6 months ago to say you wanted to come on and talk about this movie.
Yeah, that's true.
The second I saw the trailer, I was like, when you do this episode, I must be with you because I must learn how to take that.
Mhm.
This is why I have to start watching trailers, So,
I refuse.
yeah, I know.
maintain my reviews.
I know. I've been sneaking them back in, and I kind of regret it. But anyway, but I did. But in all seriousness, thank you for joining us. It was a delight to have you, as I said already, but I said it again. And
All right.
if you want to hear the quick recap, we all said no on Inside, and I guess except for Evan, because he couldn't make it, that's a yes for the Blackening from everyone. The Blackening is out now. Inside is Who Gives a Shit.
Yikes.
First thing I want to do is thank our wonderful editor, Otto Klammer. Otto, thank you for making us sound great every week. We really appreciate it.
Thanks,
Otto.
Otto.
You can find Spoiler Piece Theater anywhere you find podcasts. You can find us on our website, spoilerpiece.com. You can find us on social media, Spoiler Piece Theater on Facebook, at Spoiler Piece on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. You can email us. We're spoilerpiece@gmail.com. Or if you'd like to give us a call, you can do that at
86221-piece.
If you like the show, please rate and review us by going to ratethispodcast.com/spoilerpiece, or you can rate us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. That really helps us out a lot. Give the show a like, et cetera, et cetera. It helps get the word out. If you really like the show, that is dandy. So please consider joining our Patreon. As I mentioned at the top, we talked about the 1992 Allison Anders movie Gas, Food, Lodging, starring Fairuza Balk and Ione Skye. It's a lively conversation about a movie that is so early 90s. It's kind of amazing that I was right back in my junior year of college. Oh, I'm so old. Anyway, that's another story for another time.
So 90s.
Yeah, so 90s. So, Kristen, real quick, remind everybody where they can read you, et cetera, et cetera.
You can always find me at forcesofgeek.com with all of my reviews, and every spring and April in Roxbury at the Boston Comics and Color Festival.
Cool. Thank you very much. My name is Dave Riedel. I write for the Chicago Reader. I'm a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association. If you want to follow me on social media, et cetera, I'm Dave Sees Movies on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd.
My name is Evan Crean. I'm co-chair of the Boston Online Film Critics Association and co-author of your 80s movie guide, Better Living. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd as Real Recon, and that's real as in film reel.
And my name is Megan Kearns. I write film reviews for Edge Media Network. I, too, am a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association, and I'm a member of Gallica. You can follow me on Twitter at Opinioness World or on Instagram and Letterboxd at The Opinioness.
Thanks, everyone. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.